What if your body is trying to speak to you, but no one taught you how to listen? That's what we're talking about today on Wellness by Design. I'm your host, Jane Hogan, the Wellness Engineer, and my guest today is Jen Axe. She is the founder of The Power of Gesture. And what we're talking about is how to use your hands and gestures to interpret what your body is saying and also how to help you speak to your body. So, this is a wonderful episode. You're really going to love Jen and her energy, and she's going to share an amazing gift with you about how you can do this. So, you're going to love this conversation. It's really very empowering, and it can help us as a tool for calmness. And as you know, this is what I talk about, how to create calm in your body, and you can do it using the power of gesture. All right, I'll see you inside, and don't forget to subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. It really helps this podcast reach more people. And if you're already a subscriber, huge gratitude and thanks for that, because you have helped Wellness by Design become a top 3% podcast in the entire world. Thank you so much for that. All right, I'll see you inside the episode. Jen Axe, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today. I've been looking forward to this. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
Well, I love what you're doing. I love that you talk about the wisdom of the body and really getting in touch with the body, because most of us are stuck up here, right? So getting in touch with the body is, I believe, so important. But I'd love to hear about. We'll hear about your process and how you help people do that. But I'd love to hear what brought you into this work, because most of us don't just say, oh, I'm going to do something about, got our own story. So what's your story, Jen? How did you get into doing this work?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you. And I appreciate you seeing the importance of this message, because it really is, I think it's one of the most important focuses we could have. So for me, I got into this because I was totally disconnected from my body. I was like hijacked by society, by community around me, by the expectations and pressures outside of myself. And I got very caught up in all of it. When I was younger, I struggled in school. I wasn't, I didn't learn the traditional way. In fact, I'd sit there in those, very conservative traditional classrooms with those desks, facing the front, and everything was very linear, logical, mathematical, and focused on the SAT scores. And my brain just didn't work like that. Like, I did fine. It's not like I failed out or anything, but I didn't do great. And everyone around me, it seemed, was doing really well and thriving. And because there was so much emphasis on these SAT scores from counselors, teachers, parents, communities, and colleges, I felt like this was really important. And I just couldn't wrap my head around it, literally. So I developed a story about myself that I wasn't smart. And this really made an enormous imprint on my body. And I felt ashamed and scared and lonely and unworthy. And this was so heavy, and I carried it for 2 decades. And it really traveled with me throughout my life in so many different ways. Like, I didn't say yes to a lot of opportunities because I didn't think I was smart enough. I didn't, offer my opinion in a lot of ways because I didn't think what I had to say mattered. So it just showed up, and it wasn't great, but the outside never knew because I really held it for myself. So it felt very, right? Yeah. When we hold these things, not good. So anyhow, in my late 20s, I was offered an incredible invitation to go to dinner with John F. Kennedy Jr. and his wife, Carolyn Bessette Kennedy. I know, everyone's jaw drops. It's kind of incredible, phenomenal, and just a huge, it was like, okay, you're going to learn now, girl. Because that night, I was with my boyfriend, who was very good friends with JFK Jr. And I actually said no to the invitation because I was paralyzed. My body was completely freaked out and hijacked. And I said no. So that night was really when things turned around for me. I just was like, I was curled up in a ball. I was on the floor. I was totally ashamed. I was just, it was like my rock bottom. And I just decided that enough was enough and that I knew I was smarter than that. So that's when a shift happened. And we can talk about that. You were going to ask something. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, so were you curled up in a ball because you realized that you had
Oh,
said no to this great
good question.
opportunity?
There was no realization happening to me. I was not thinking at all. I was curled up in a ball because I was so ashamed. I was just so upset and disappointed at myself. So I guess in some ways, I knew, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. But it was just like, I felt so defeated. And I remember saying, like, I can't believe society got to define me before I could define me. Like, how did I let that happen? I gave my power away completely. And did that answer your question?
Yeah, so you didn't do it. You said no,
I said
and
no.
it was in the realization of saying, well, you
Hmm.
said you didn't really have any realization. You were
Yeah,
just
I
like,
didn't in that moment,
yeah,
But as time went on,
your
in
body
that,
knew though.
my body knew. So I'm
Yeah,
in the ball. I'm on the
right.
floor. I'm in the ball. And I don't know how long I was down there, but it was long. And throughout, like halfway through this, like just sobbing, feeling sad for myself moment, I really felt a presence around me that
Mhm.
said, you know, enough is enough. Like, you're better than this. Like, do you want to
Oh
live
my
the rest
gosh.
of your life like this? I mean, that was the energy that I felt. That was the
Oh,
message I
love
heard.
it.
Yeah. So I didn't know what I was going to do, but I really was done. I knew that I had to start climbing. So I did. And soon after, I think it was like a week, um, I was in a therapist's office. And after a bit with her, she introduced me to a professor. And this professor studied the multiple forms of intelligence. And when I learned that there were multiple forms of intelligence, I sobbed for a while because I was like, how did nobody tell me that there's many ways
Mm,
to learn? Like, what? I just was really overwhelmed with, how did no one know? How did no one tell me? Anyhow, I got over that pretty quickly. And then I aligned with 3 forms of intelligence that we all innately have. And this began my restoring journey. This began my healing journey. So the 3 forms are somatic, kinesthetic, and emotional. These are
mhm.
widely studied
Yeah.
and researched and taught about by many people. And they're just 3, and there's 9 in total that I was introduced to. But these are the 3 that I focused on, and that really was the pivotal moment of shift. And I actually just want to tell you this next part where, the universe gives you what you ask for or whatever energy, whatever
Yeah.
you believe in. I started doing this like, healing. And all of a sudden, I was introduced to an organization that teaches children through the arts, through the body, teaches curriculum, history, lessons, and books through the
Wow.
body. Which, by the way,
Wow.
for your listeners, kinesthetic intelligence is the body's physical ability to move, learn, express through movement. So I was like, of course this makes sense. And by the way, the woman that taught me about the multiple forms of intelligence, once I learned that I had very large kinesthetic intelligence because I had been a dancer my whole life, we worked together for 5 years and we created like visuals of all this information I wanted to learn about politics and healthcare and nutrition and just like everything. Everything was created with visual markers and paper and pens and through my body. So anyway, I
Mhm.
went on a 20-year journey of teaching these children curriculum through the body. And it was an unbelievable, I still teach the teachers. I've been teaching the teachers
Huh.
for a long time now.
How does that work? Like I'm just trying to get a visual of
Yeah,
how that works because I only did the classroom stuff like
right.
you were talking about.
Yeah.
How does it work for someone to learn history through the body?
Yeah. Oh, it's incredible. Well, first of all, you can start with your hands drawing maps, drawing geographical locations, drawing,
Mm.
imported goods about, I'm just saying geography, right? And then it's like the kinds of people that live in these places. And then you put costumes on, or
Okay.
you listen to the type of music that's embedded in the culture. And then you start dancing and learning their styles of movement and the types of food that they eat. And then you'll start tasting tasting those foods. So it's like a full
Right.
bodied
Beautiful.
sensory experience. And then it stays. So that was healing, transformative, and hugely empowering, and has informed what I'm doing now completely.
Beautiful. It's as you were talking there, it reminded me of when I took our kids to the Getty Museum in Los Angeles, and they
Mm.
had, museums aren't the greatest things for kids, but we wanted to take them. But they had such a great program for kids where they could actually dress up. So they'd have like the painting, and then they had costumes where the kids could dress up
Mm.
like the
Yeah,
painting. So that's kind of like, I think that really stood out for them,
absolutely.
right?
Oh, yeah.
So similar kind of thing. I love
Yeah.
that. Okay, so that's you said the 3 types of learning are,
Mhm.
let's say that again, I'm
Kinesthetic, emotional, and somatic.
kinesthetic, emotional, and somatic.
Somatic.
Okay. Can you, like, break those down a little
Yeah,
bit?
sure. So kinesthetic, like I said, is the body's physical ability to move, learn, express through movement. So a lot of people that have high kinesthetic awareness, I say awareness because we all have kinesthetic ability. It's just we
Right.
need to have the awareness and then we need to go strengthen it. So athletes, performers of any kind, musicians, artists, writers, surgeons, anyone using their hands, speakers, when you use your hands, I mean, that gets to my work, which we'll talk about because I've distilled all of this down to a practice, a very tangible practice that people can use on a daily. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yes.
So, so that's kinesthetic intelligence. Emotional intelligence is very deep. There's 5 different layers to it, but the short summary of emotional intelligence is our ability to be able to manage our own emotions, understand what's going inside of ourselves, what's going on inside of ourselves, and being able to express it with, dignity, with integrity, with respect, and have the awareness of others. And that's where like a lot of leadership comes into play because yes, there's that self leadership of being able to understand your own emotions and how to manage them, but then have the awareness of others and be able to manage them. So that's like CEOs, managers, therapists, teachers, coaches, parents. Anyone leading another human being is a leader, in my opinion, and has the ability to deepen their emotional intelligence. And it's something to be hugely aware of because there's tremendous research around the power of it. And then
Mm,
the third one is somatic intelligence, which is that deep gut knowing. It's like that knowing that our ancestors, thrived and survived by knowing. It's that, you can sense when danger is around or when something doesn't feel right. That's that
mhm.
somatic deep. So it's like these
Yeah.
layers of intelligence that we all have access to. We just need to learn how to get access to them and then trust what the wisdom is inside of all of that intelligence and be led by it.
Mm. I don't know if you've ever heard this, Jen, but I remember hearing, that there's some tribes, and I can't remember where this tribe is,
Mm.
but they say they think with their belly,
Yes.
not with their head.
Yes.
And that is that intelligence, right?
Yes.
That gut feeling intelligence. But somehow we just weren't taught that. Is
Nope.
it something you can teach? Well, yes, you're going to
Oh,
say yes,
yes.
because that
Oh,
is what you
absolutely.
teach.
That's what I do. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I teach it.
Yeah.
Um, we were not taught how to listen to our bodies. We were not taught that our bodies were intelligent. We were not taught that wisdom is truly the guiding light for all of us. And so because we weren't taught, and again, I don't know if that was intentional or
Mm.
overlooked. I think it's a combination of all of it,
Mm.
but
Yeah.
it's such an asset. And I call it body set. So we were talking about mindset a little bit at the beginning, just how we think our way through
Yeah.
life. This work that I do is all about feeling our way through life, really feeling because the body knows before the mind does. Always. The body knows. It gets that
Yeah.
hit, that gut. And then it's about how do I listen? How do I trust? How do I use it in my
Mm.
life? Mhm.
That Simon Sinek
Yeah.
book. What's it called? I've forgotten.
Something the leadership
Something
one?
about why.
Oh yeah.
Start with why, I think it's
Yeah.
called, but I might be wrong. But in that book, he talks about how we make decisions with our gut,
Mm,
and then our brain works out a way to to follow along with it, basically. So actually, I don't know if he said gut, but he talked about some other part of our brain. But we basically are not making decisions cognitively. We're making decisions like instinctively. And then we use our cognitive ability to like justify it.
right. Yeah. It's an interesting relationship because the mind can override the gut oftentimes. You know, you
Yeah.
get a feeling like this job doesn't feel right for me anymore. But then the mind just takes over and
But
it's
I
like, well,
got to
wait,
do it.
what about safety, benefits?
Yeah.
You know, you have a salary and your family and all these things. And it
Yeah.
gets in the way of what we
Mm.
truly believe and feel inside of ourselves.
You know, our whole education system, I never really thought about this years ago, but I've since heard many times that our education system was really based on creating people that would be workers
Mm,
and people that are workers. And it was sort of for factories and so on. You know, they they didn't want them to question things. They didn't want workers to question things. They just wanted workers to do what they're
mm,
told. And the
hmm.
whole system is kind of like geared up for that. Not, I mean, different systems, Montessori and so on might be different. Not that I know much about them, but basically our system was like, don't like follow that instinct. Don't learn about that.
Right.
And maybe I don't know if it was intentional. It certainly was, you know, let's train people to be workers, not
Hmm.
train people to be something new like entrepreneurs or and trusting in themselves.
Right.
Okay, so let's come back to your the system,
Yeah.
the body set,
Yes.
and yeah, let's unpack that a little bit.
Yeah. So I'm introducing a concept called body set. And like I said, it's, you know, like mindset is the mental attitude, body set is the physical and emotional state that informs the mind. So when we can think, instead of it thinking that our information goes from our head to our gut, we can reverse it from the gut to the mind. They work together in
Yeah.
sync, but they play differently, and the body set is such an asset inside of us that we don't pay nearly enough attention to, so we need to awaken it. So I've created a body set practice that allows you to really awaken those three intelligence systems and get to know them and really listen and then ultimately be led by them. So
Hmm.
how it works is, well, the backstory quickly is that when the pandemic hit, everything shut down. And the schools that I was working in, teaching that kinesthetic approach to curriculum and learning, um, everything shut down. So I knew at this point I had done so much research with different forms of intelligence. I understood the power of the body. I had been teaching children and empowering teachers for years and years. I had my own story. I was like, okay, I can support whoever wants support in this moment. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do something. So I just started asking people to, you know, come into the Zoom room, and everyone was saying yes because no one had anything to do. So that was lucky.
Hmm.
And so I started inviting people to embody their emotions with their hands. And what that looks like is, you know, because I wanted them to stay in the frame and not get up and dance with their body. I really wanted them to stay close so I could feel their energy. So their hands, kinesthetic intelligence, right? We're using our hands to awaken these emotions and get to know them. So for the listeners who can't see this, for an example might be like clenching your fists for anxiety, let's just say, or stress of some kind. So we're
Yep.
clenching the fists. Then I would guide them into a visualization where they could see and connect with a calmer part of themselves. So, yes, that's a part. The angst is real. We're acknowledging it. Then we're visualizing the joy or the peace or the calm, whatever it is. And then I would guide them into the release of their hands, of releasing that energy and really seeing it expand and then coming back to acknowledge that angst again and then the release. So it was this contraction and expansion. And because I was so fortunate to work with so many types of people all over the world, because again, it was COVID and everyone was home.
Mm.
So I got to meet with all kinds of people. It was incredible. And they really taught me that this is a universal language, gesture, our hands, and that when we feel doubt, pain, worry, anything limiting, we contract. And then when we feel empowered, inspired, strong, ready, we expand. So the gestures all represented this play on expansion and contraction. And the transformation was outrageous. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. So I went into the research and I found the brain hand connection and the
Love it.
science behind it. And I was like, what is going on? But of course, this makes sense. There's tremendous reciprocity between the two. There's an enormous responsibility that our hands have. And
Mhm.
there's a lot of layers to this, but that is the gist. Just to give you one scientific fact, there are over 40,000 nerve endings inside of our hands that send signals to the brain on a feedback loop all day long, which is why we have more power and control than we think. We can shift how we feel in a second by using our hands. So I kept saying there's so much power in gesture. And that's what I wound up
Mm.
calling the practice. And that's what it is, the power of gesture, which is my body set practice, somatic based, that helps us awaken the wisdom from within us, underneath that kinesthetic, emotional, and somatic intelligence, right? The wisdom from within us to be able to listen to it, trust it, and be led by it.
I love it. That's so interesting that it was just because you were dealing with Zoom
Yeah.
that you wanted to do with hand
Yeah.
gestures, and then that led to the
I
work
know,
that
right?
that you were doing.
It's
S-
insane.
Yeah. What kind of things I can see actually? So you were getting people to use their hands to
Mhm.
express how they were feeling. Is
Mhm.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Makes total sense to
And
me.
then
You know,
there's music, by the way, because sorry to interrupt, but
and music. Yeah.
because my background is dance and music is such a huge part of my life, dance is always threaded throughout all my sessions, workshops, speaking, whatever it is, there's music. And because that's another, not just to have music, it's because music is another opening to our heart center, to all of what we're talking about here.
Oh, yeah. Music has the power to change your emotions. I mean, we
Yeah.
know that from the movies, right? Imagine a
Yeah.
movie with no music soundtrack.
No, wouldn't be good.
It changes. They use music to change our emotions. No matter, not just a movie. I was watching a TV show last night, and I was noticing that they were using music like when they wanted us to feel like, intensity building, they'll
Mm.
use intensity building music, but it's
Mhm.
part of drawing us in emotionally, because when we connect emotionally, we're
Mhm.
connected.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I notice something in myself sometimes when I'm feeling tense. I'll notice during the night I've got my hands locked together, like I'm squeezing
Mm.
one hand around my thumb and I'm
Oh, wow.
holding it
I wanna
together.
do that. Wait, show me that again. It's your thumb and the fingers. Okay, this is a
Yeah.
beautiful gesture. Okay.
And I feel like I've only noticed this recently, like in the last year or so. And I think that, so basically for the people that are listening, my right hand like curls around my left thumb, and then
Mhm.
my left hand goes on top of it. And I think it's like, to me it feels like protection.
Mm.
So it's like it's a protection gesture. Would you say?
I mean, it's your body
Yeah,
speaking, right? So I don't,
exactly.
because every gesture is unique. And by the way, in my practice, I don't create the gestures. People create the gesture. I just guide them into it.
Yeah,
So this for you could mean one thing and it could mean something totally different for me. So
right.
sure, protection, I mean that's amazing. And
Mm.
it would be interesting to explore, you know, do you stay here or and what is that all connected to? Protection, and then the release of it and how that would feel in your body. Maybe we'll have
Yeah.
a session.
Well, I've noticed, like, if I wake up at night and I notice I'm doing that and I go, I don't need to hold on so tight. This is how
Mm,
I'm sort of taught. I don't need to hold on so tight. I can let go.
exactly.
So that's kind of what I'm telling myself. And I don't do it as much as I used to,
Yeah.
but it seems to me like it does sort of happen when I feel like more I would say more stress or,
Yeah.
not feeling as relaxed, say. So that's definitely something I've noticed in my hands.
Wow.
Um,
I think that's
yeah.
beautiful. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
I
Eh,
love that.
but we do see people like clenching their fists, right? And if they're feeling a little bit, I don't know, angry maybe? Is that
Stressed,
an angry
angry.
gesture?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, this person's angry gesture could be this person's excitement gesture. Like it's all very different. It's all interpreted differently.
Mm,
Um, but what I do invite in this practice is to always allow the emotion to be whatever it is and not say, "Oh, I wish I didn't feel that," or "Why am I feeling protective? Why am I doing this? I shouldn't." Or "Why am I feeling angry? I shouldn't." It's a yes. It's a yes, and all of it is a yes because it's here for us to teach us in some kind of way, and then we can work with it to release
mm.
the pressure of it.
So something, and obviously I'm not always doing this myself, but sometimes what I teach is, and you're probably the same way, is rather than getting into the why story about it,
Right.
is like, okay, if I'm doing this and I associate it with holding on tight,
Mhm.
where am I feeling that in my body and how can I let it go? So is there
Yeah.
like a follow-up process, or like how does your system work with
Yeah.
something like
That
that?
system. Well, it's a practice, and, I think engaging it with it as often as you need to. So, a lot of people will come to me and say, "I wanna get rid of this. I want it to go away." And so I don't totally subscribe to that because I think it's just part of our life journey. I think it's part of these somatic markers, as Antonio Damasio would say. He's another neuroscientist that I studied a bit from. These markers that make imprints, and then they cause emotional responses to different moments in our life. And so it's about leaning in with that compassion and that curiosity. So,
Mm,
yes, guiding them into maybe feeling it, where is it in your body, and letting it go. And if it returns, bring it on.
yeah.
What do I need to learn right now? Tell me why you're showing up again. Really having that conversation inside of
Mm,
ourselves, to get to know these parts because that's what they are. They're all just parts of who we are, not all
yeah.
of who we are.
You're making me think of internal family
Yeah,
systems.
exactly. Totally.
Y- Yeah. Um, so are there like common spontaneous gestures people will do that mean
Hmm.
something? There was a TV show, and I can't remember what it was called now, where the person was like an expert at reading people
Mm,
and could like tell what they were, whether they were telling the truth or not by facial gestures, body gestures, and things like that. So
hmm.
are you like, can you notice like hand gestures now and then think, oh, okay, I think what's going on there is, or is it still like it means different things for different people?
Yeah, I definitely will never assume I know how someone is feeling ever. But I definitely notice gestures for sure and have like a little sense about what it could mean.
Yeah.
Um, what I love most about this practice is that people are now paying attention to their own gestures so much more and saying, "Oh my gosh, you know, I noticed I was doing this so much today." In terms of common gestures that people do, I mean, the one that most of us know well in the wellness world is when one hand is on your heart, one on your belly, and close your eyes. I call this the body set position. So
Mm,
the minute we feel anxious, out of control, whatever, doubtful, anything that's like limiting and taking us out of the truth of who we are, immediately body set. And you just put your hands on your body, heart, belly, close your eyes, and just try and calm the
mm,
nervous system, which this does. So that's a common one. Another one that showed up a couple of months ago, and I really love it, is like this gratitude. Both hands are over the heart, and then the hand that's on top of the heart kind of pours outward to giving, and then it's like a giving and receiving
mm,
gesture. Just
mm,
this ebb and flow of love and gratitude and welcoming. I love that one. And that's very simple. But when I tell you, I have seen hundreds, probably thousands at this point, the gestures are, it's infinite. The
Mm.
vocabulary is enormous. It's amazing.
Mhm. I've noticed sometimes, some people, and whether this is a gesture or not, I don't know. But I notice some people, like if they're speaking, sometimes they kind of cover their mouth while they're
Mm,
speaking. And I think, oh, don't be afraid to speak. Like to me, that's what that means.
right.
Almost they're holding back. Have you noticed that? Have you seen
I
that
haven't
before?
really noticed that, but if I saw someone do it, that's definitely an interpretation. Or, are they insecure about their teeth? Are they,
Right.
did they just choose something and something's about to like fall out of their mouth? Do they
Yeah.
feel like they just said something that was inappropriate or the wrong word? Or, you know, who knows? Maybe they saw someone in front of them that made a reaction and it made them feel uncomfortable, and their instinct was to just kind of put their hand over
Mm.
their mouth.
Isn't it a blessing that we have these bodies that can do these things?
Yes.
And yeah, we're basically always communicating through our hands. I'm a real hand talker anyway, like lots
Yeah.
of times I hit the mic a
Do
lot.
it. Yes. I
Um,
love it.
yeah, but yeah, we're always communicating. We don't even realize how much we're communicating with our gestures, but we are. It's
Yeah.
part of it's a communication tool,
Yeah.
and a subconscious communication tool
Yeah.
sometimes as well. It can be conscious or
Subconscious.
subconscious. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I really love all this. So how can, like, and I know that you said you have like, what is the takeaway for our audience? So you said you have like this guideline that
Yeah.
people can use. So how does that work?
Yeah, yeah. It's a 5-day email sequence practice. It's so simple. Like it's not it will drop in the person's inbox every day with a short, probably like 60-second video from me and explaining my body set to reset practice. And basically, every letter, it's an acronym that stands for R is recognize for reset, recognize, embody, C, embody, and transform. And so the recognize is just really recognizing what's going on. So you quickly body set, recognize. The first E is embodying that initial emotion. The S is really about seeing the more grounded, calm experience in your body. The second E is embodying that, and T is transforming the energy. It's very simple, 60-second videos, emails every day, and I'm happy to share that link with you.
Okay, wonderful. So
Yeah.
we'll have that in the description or
Yep.
the whatever. So check that. We'll
Perfect.
have the link there for you. That's a really beautiful gift. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
you're so welcome.
Yeah, I love that. So, is there anything else we haven't touched on yet that you want to make sure people hear?
I mean, I would love for people to check out my TEDx. I did it in
Yeah.
August and I'm very proud of it. And it really speaks to this message in a deep way. And I dance on stage. It's fun, impromptu. Um, but
Congratulations
thank
on
you.
that.
It was very fun. So I would love that. But if anyone wants to reach out to me for anything, I'm on all the socials and,
Mhm.
I'm here for all the questions. I'm here for all the inquiry.
Well, I haven't seen your TEDx yet. I'm gonna have a look at it.
Well, good.
I think that's wonderful. I know it's a lot of work and preparation to do a
Yeah.
TEDx, so huge congratulations.
Thank you.
It's actually on my vision board here. You
Oh,
can't
good.
see it,
Then
but
it's
I
going to
do have
happen.
have that on my vision board. So, congratulations to you for that.
Thank you.
Well, this is really wonderful. Where so we want people to see the TEDx. Is there anywhere else people can find you?
Yeah.
Instagram or
Yeah, absolutely. Instagram, it's Jen_Ax, AKS.
X?
And my website is jenax.com. And I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn, all the same name, same place. And
Well,
yeah.
we'll share those links. But I have one little question for
Oh,
you,
sure.
and that is if we're going to say take a baby step today. So
Mm,
even before they get
yeah.
your reset gift,
Yeah.
what is one little baby step someone could take today that's going to shift them into a healing state?
Yeah. The first thing I would say is to body set. The minute you feel anxious, doubtful, worried, scared, any of it. Just place your hand on your heart, belly, and close your eyes. And all I would ask you to do is notice. Just notice where you're feeling what you're feeling. Don't even ask why. You don't need to chase the why. Just notice. And by noticing, you will calm the nervous system because you are honoring the moment. You're honoring the emotion. And it's kind of like a child throwing a tantrum. When you
Mm.
acknowledge them and validate them, they calm down. It's the same thing in our body. So just body set, notice, and breathe. That's it.
I love that. I love that so much. Jen, thank you so much for
You're so
being a
welcome.
guest on Wellness by Design, but also just this sharing this body of work with the world, really helping people tune into their bodies again through gesture
Mm,
and making a difference. So thank you so
thank you.
much for that.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. And everyone watching and listening, leave a comment. Let us know what you thought and make sure that you sign up for Jen's free gift and really tuning into yourself again. And, through doing this, we can create calm again. And that, well, we need that right now. So we'll see you again next time on Wellness by Design.